50 some odd years of garden experience boiled down into one episode. You know, every Saturday for the last 6 years, every Saturday we've gone to you and we've celebrated what's been going on in your garden. This week will not be any different, except I missed yesterday because I was celebrating a friend of mine's life. Jim was a friend of mine and he had more experience in the garden than I did. He taught me a few things, turned me on to a few things, made our community so much better by having him as a part. Jim was the one that turned me on to the hot peppers. I never thought I could eat a hot pepper. And if you were with me last year, you saw ghost peppers in the garden. I didn't know I liked hot peppers. My wife's uncle thought I ought to expand my horizons and turned me on to some of these really hot ones. So my story wasn't about peppers, it was about growing anything that you like to eat with deep mulch. I don't mark things, that way I'm not disappointed when they don't come up. And these hot peppers, I got them as little plants, and they had tags in them, and I planted them in a row. I planted serranos, poblanos, Anaheims in the back, what I thought was a ghost pepper, what I thought was a scorpion, and then the Carolina Reaper back here. We went ahead and made hot sauce just the other day, so let's take a real close look at what we have here. This first one here, it is smooth, the skin's a little thicker, and looking at all the pictures when I was deciding what kind of hot sauce I wanted, I think this might be a Savannah habanero. Still over 500,000 Scoville. Now these, which I thought were scorpions because of the little point, I believe are ghosts. I did eat one of these. It gave me a lot of hiccups. I've been calling the ghost scorpions. I don't have any scorpions. So this is a really nice pepper. These are pretty warm. And these are the Reapers. The turmeric that he talked me into trying has made its way all across the United States now. Jim touched more lives than he knew. Whatever we leave in the ground. Oh, look at that. See, that just broke off. So I know we got big pieces like that still in here. That patch was voluntary. You can do this too. And like I've been saying, you don't have to do it all in one day. You work at it just a little bit at a time. I didn't intend to sweat today. But if you do, if you work at it just a little bit at a time, pretty quick you'll be done. Well, sorta. We're never done when we're planting. Jim got his start in the garden kind of like I did, helping folks from the Depression. They lived out of their garden. In these later years, we talk about turnip greens or mustard greens. He said, I don't like those greens. Come to find out, he did like them, but that's all he had to eat when he was a kid. They would sell the actual turnips. He got to eat the greens. So he was more into eating the turnips than the greens. That all made sense. Jim not only sent me seeds for giant cabbages, he showed us how to ferment those cabbages. We're dreaming about becoming sauerkraut. And that's a funny thing. We got lucky enough to have Jim stop by today, and we made some sauerkraut. We're gonna learn about fermenting. Let's go ahead and leave these out here to become big heads of cabbage. Let's go on in the kitchen and see how easy it is to make sauerkraut. Come on.
That thing works really. That's my pepper.
I saw that.
They're only about that big. Tall.
So don't be afraid to just get in there and grab handfuls and just fill your jar up. I'm gonna be surprised at how fast this cabbage starts releasing its water. So as you fill the jar, go ahead and take your wooden spoon and tamp this down and be aggressive. Get that packed in there.
That's why they're called self-brining.
So the cabbage are self-brining. You see how much liquid's in there. By adding the salt and forcing it down in there, there's a lot of water in the cabbage. And I believe beets are exactly the same way.
What we're going to do is we're going to make our own lake in here. So you need a Ziploc bag. I've never done this with this big of a bag. Where's your brine? We're gonna make our own weight right here. Is that the brine?
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit, because this is already full. Oh, like I told her, you gotta be innovative and resourceful. It doesn't take much, because you're just filling up this little space.
That's probably right.
To hold it down in there. And I gotta get that bag inside there.
That's probably still too much, but...
Okay, I gotta set this on here. Like I said, it's not exact, so you just kind of go with the flow until you get it in there.
Put in a small jar, and we didn't have a weight that would fit inside, so you have to be resourceful. So what we did is we took a Ziploc bag, put some brine inside of that, twisted the top, set it down in on top of the vegetables. We're going to have to open the lid every day to let it gas, but you have to be resourceful sometimes for your weight. You want your vegetables to be under the brine water. So for the second one, we do have a glass weight. I'll put that in to hold the vegetables under the brine, and then we're going to put our pickle pipe on top. Add the ring. 2 jars down. And on this one we've got carrots and radishes. We've added some basil, and to keep the basil from floating, we're adding just a piece of cabbage leaf. Now we're going to go ahead and add the brine. This is between 2.5% and 3% pickling brine. And then go ahead and use your fingers, push down, make sure you get any of the bubbles out. Then we're going to add our glass weight. And don't be afraid to get a little water on the table. Then we're going to add our pickle pipe. And screw that lid down tight. Now this pickle pipe will allow it to self-vent, and that's all there is to it. Now we have 2 jars of vegetables that are fermenting.
When I was coming up, there was no air conditioning, and those ladies did not want you in the kitchen bothering them while they were canning. So I didn't learn a lot about the canning part. I learned a lot about the hoeing and weeding. Well, all I've done here was took an old gate and added a little more trellis. This bottom one, we had peas and beans growing here, but they kind of fell over. This will give them a little something to trellis on. And right here with our tomato trellis, we had those striped cherry tomatoes here last year, and it pulled it down pretty hard, so I wanted to reinforce this a little bit. Remember, those tomatoes, once they start growing, they're full of water, they get really heavy. What we've used for our trellis system is just pipes and wire. Any kind of pipes. We make sure that your wire is at least 7 feet above the ground. You're going to be able to walk underneath it, still low enough that you can throw a string over it and trellis your tomatoes. Now, if you're like me, you start getting out of hand. I got wires everywhere, but that gives me the flexibility to plant what I want, where I want. And I've got a lot of things planted. We've got a lot of things growing, but we only have a limited amount of room. And I got a lot more things planned to go in the garden, and I hope you join me for those. But today is meant to celebrate you and what's going on in your garden. And I want to remember my friend Jim. He encouraged us to try new things. The turmeric, the ginger, the horseradish, the hot peppers. Every now and again there'd be a new pack of seeds that would show up in the mail. He said, "Do you ever see these? You might want to try them." Even though his health was failing towards the end, he got out there with buckets. He grew peppers, he grew tomatoes. He shared what he grew on the patio with us. One of the stories they told yesterday about Jim's life, he was a 12-year-old boy, caught an 8-foot shark. Living in Long Beach back in the 50s and 60s, him and his brothers and sisters used to fish, help feed the family. When he caught that 8-foot shark, he thought, boy, we got dinner. How are we gonna get it home? And back then they had to ride the city bus. That driver wasn't too happy about them bringing that shark on that bus. but they snuck around and got it on the back of that bus and still got it home. And that kind of sums up Jim. Never say no. There's always a way to work around it, or you figure it out. Now, while I figure out something else to do, let's go on down to Orlando and see Bruce's food forest, and this is what we can shoot for. Pineapple at the beginning of spring, and as the star cherries are coming on, he's busy succession planting and companion planting. And just look at his food forest. He's got a bunch of the usual suspects started and growing well. He also has all this exotic food. Florida's got a great climate, but then again, springtime, he's still got sprouts just like we're gonna have. Bruce, we sure appreciate you sharing what's going on down in your garden. You give us all something to shoot for. Wasn't that incredible? I invite you to become a member of this group. There's no obligation. All you do is send in a picture now and again, and we get to celebrate what's going on in your garden. And you can help motivate others, show them just what's possible in a garden. Where Bruce doesn't really have to worry about frost, let's take a look at Patrice's garden and what she did over the winter. And she's just now starting to harvest her collards. Pop-up greenhouse, back porch, a little pre-planting, and you can grow all winter long. Patrice, this looks wonderful. And since you're planting outside now, we look forward to seeing how your garden grows. Thank you for showing us what's possible. And actually, these seeds came from Jim, and it's starting to make a head right now. You can do this too. One of the main takeaways I got from yesterday was how many lives Jim touched without asking for any recognition. And he was one of the few people, when I give food away, he never said, "Aren't you charging them?" I've got way too much. God's provided a lot for us. I'm just trying to share our bounty. And that's how Jim was. I think that's one of the reasons we were friends. Talking about sharing, here's another long-term contributor to this channel, Walter. He started his deep mulch garden a few years ago, and this year he's doing the Roost Stout potatoes. He just laid them on the ground and covered them up, and he's already got them sprouting. Now that white lid you see there is the top of a 5-gallon bucket that he drilled holes in. That's his compost pile worm bin, and it's helped his garden a lot. Walter, this is wonderful, thank you. Asparagus has started to break the ground. That's wonderful. You can do this too. Jim Wood told me being in the garden is like celebrating the cycle of life. You gotta try new things and always keep planting. Jim, I'm gonna miss you, but I do appreciate all the wisdom you've given us. And where neither one of us would tell another person how to garden, we might give you some advice on what we did wrong. Just try to help you out. But if you're successful at how you're doing things, that is wonderful. And until next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant.